Okay, good morning and welcome to another episode of Jewish Money. I am honored to have one of my most frequent guests on these shows. What's your name again? Everyone knows your name.
Mark.
Shmuel
Oh, Shmuel
Silver.
Silver, right? I forgot.
What's your English name?
I
You
don't
have
have
any? You don't have an
no,
English
no,
name.
no English name. Sorry, Samuel.
Samuel. All right, Uncle Sam. All right. You have any nephews and nieces?
Yes.
So he's Uncle Sam. All right. Listen, I got a great episode for today. We're going to talk again. I only have one question to deal with on our half an hour episode. My question is as follows. A lot of people here in Israel, Kollel is the predominant way in my community over here. Most people, when they get married, they enter Kollel. Um, they try to stay in learning as long as they possibly can. However, because Kollels don't pay that much, the average Kollel pays around between 1,000 to 2,500 shekel, which is, scraping, between $300 to $700 a month. Even here in Israel, where things are cheaper than America, it's very hard to live. A lot of wives don't work. Some of them do work. They're not making big money. Parnasa is very difficult. To make a living here is very difficult, especially if you're living a cola lifestyle. My idea is like this. Now that the new government is sworn in here in Israel, composed half of religious parties, half of the coalition is religious. They believe in the kollel system, right? Not just Dati Lumi, Chardal, Haredi Dati Lumi. Half of the coalition, Haredi and Haredi Dati Lumi. I think it's time. I don't know. I want to hear what your thoughts are. How about minimum wage for people in Kollel sponsored by the government? Minimum wage, meaning minimum wage here in Israel is about 30 shekel an hour. If you figure in, let's say, regular Kollel hours, maybe 8 hours a day, that would have come out to around 5,000 shekel a month. We're talking $1,500 a month, doubling or tripling the amount people will get paid. Everyone speaks here in Israel. It's very difficult. The Haredim, they're ruining the economy and stuff like that. And, they live off their parasites, they live off other people. But listen, let's pay them for what they're doing and get minimum wage. And they won't be a burden on the economy anymore because they'll be paid by the government. Listen, the past government, which had Arab parties in it, allocated 50 billion shekel for the Arab sector here in Israel. Now, when you have religious Haredi parties in the government, I think 50 billion shekels should be allocated to the Haredim. I'll talk about this more in a second. For Kollel stipends, minimum wage, Shmuel, what do you say?
I think Can I call you Ben Sion?
What else are we going to call me? You have a different name for me?
Bob? No.
Bob.
No, seriously. I think it's a great idea. Of course, it's just, as they say, pie in the sky, because this is totally
Why do you think it's pie in the sky?
realistic, and it's because there's about to be a big civil war here in the first place, and we're not even talking about the Haredim, just the whole, they're going after the Jew, the whole, what the
Judicial system. Yeah,
exactly.
they want to, rework it so that the courts don't have so much power. The secular court is secular here in Israel. They shouldn't have so much power. So if they're able to successfully do that, and the court couldn't veto a bill like this, I just want to elaborate on my idea a little bit to get a better context of what I'm trying to say over here. People might think I'm crazy. When I first came with the idea, when I was thinking about the idea, and I was asking people about this idea, and I was telling them, minimum wage for Kollel, I'm like thinking in my head, this is a stupid idea. I just want to hear what Kollel people. I'm not in Kollel. I don't know if you're learning Kollel. You ever learned in Kollel after you got married?
I'm in Kollel right now.
Oh, you're in Kollel right now.
Right. Hey, wait! I have to. This is the middle of the.
So it's 11:15 in the morning. You're missing your Kollel, and this would be a problem. You wouldn't qualify for my Kollel system, because let me tell you what my Kollel system is like. I want, just like in other countries, right? You have research, medical research, right? I'm sure in a lot of countries they pay nice stipends, maybe more than minimum wage, for people, doctors, and people with knowledge in the medical field to go and research different projects, to help out sick people, possible vaccines, cures for different diseases. And that's sponsored a lot of times by the government, these programs. Israel's a Jewish state. So I think the Torah, right, understanding the Torah is more fundamental than medicine, right? Because if we can gain a proper understanding of the Torah, the Gemara calls Torah Sam Chaim, right? And I would say, medical expertise is really Sam Mavis, right? medicine for death, right? To prevent death. But if you want to have medicine that gives you life, right? Torah's Chaim, we call it. There's no better way than to understand the Torah. As Jews, we believe that. If you're going to go to a Christian country or a Muslim country and say, sponsor people to learn in Kollel, it's crazy. But in a Jewish country, right, if in a non-Jewish country they're going to have medical research, they're going to be a sponsor, let's have a system where they're sponsoring people to gain a fair understanding of the Torah. And I have a couple of caveats. First of all, it's going to be open to everybody. It's not something just going to be, people are going to say, oh, it's the Haredim, it's the religious people. No, I think it's fair that every sector of Jewish people here in Israel should be able to apply for this Kollel system. And I want to have open discussion between different groups and sectors in Judaism, and Hasidim, and Litvish Haredim, and Sfardim, and Dati Leumi, and Haredi Dati Leumi, and modern Orthodox, and even traditional
Maybe
Jews,
Arabs.
secular Jews. I don't think Arabs learn the Torah, so it wouldn't be part of this program. No. But I think everyone should have eligibility, and I think it should be allocated equally to everyone. And I want to have a live discussion and debates, right? Open debates about different important things in hashkafa and halacha based on the Torah.
Interesting.
So we can have unification among Klal Yisrael, that the Jews should be unified and have an open and fair discussion. I feel a lot of times, I live in the Haredi community, a lot of times, we only look at the hashkafa or the halachic opinions of the Haredi sector and say the other sectors have it wrong. If they're more lenient, they're wrong, and there's no discussion between them, everyone's in their own world, and there's so many different sects of Hasidus, Litvish, and, Haredi Dati Leumi. Everyone we have to have a conversation. We have to have dialogue.
All get along.
That's what I'm saying. So if you open this thing to everybody, and it's fair, and you're paying people, of course, the number 2 caveat is that it has to be serious. Meaning, no one can everyone's going to say, yeah, why should I work as that cashier in the supermarket? I'll just join the Kollel. And like exactly. Lieberman says, I'll take out my peanut butter sandwich and my coffee, and I'll sit down, I'll read the newspaper like Lieberman says.
How did you know about my peanut butter sandwich?
That's what you're having today, peanut butter?
I can't believe it.
Why peanut butter? You like peanut butter?
Why not tuna Everybody fish? Likes peanut butter. Wait, you're not an American?
I stopped eating peanut butter once I came to Israel. I eat tuna fish for lunch sometimes.
They have so many. They have Skippy in the supermarket.
Skippy is an American brand.
And they have Jif.
What's your favorite peanut butter brand?
I'm just this.
You like it chunky or not? You like with the peanuts in it?
Oh. I like smooth. I like smooth.
You like smooth?
Yeah, but I'm not the biggest fan.
You're a smooth guy.
I'm not. I was
smooth.
I didn't go up. I wasn't a crazy peanut butter guy, But it seems to be like peanut butter and jelly. You didn't have that growing up. I mean,
peanut butter and jelly never. I don't know. People told me peanut butter and jelly. I tried a couple times. I was grossed out. I think it's the most disgusting.
They even have. I think Jif. One of the companies has it in the bottle. The swirly.
It's a mistake. I think it's the Matrix. They talk about the Matrix now. They tell you it's good, but it's really not good. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they tell you, how do you want your steak? And they say, and you're like, I don't know. I don't go to restaurants at all. What do you think, Mr. Waiter? And he says, well done. Do it well done. And all the people around the table like, well done. And you get the thing, and it's burnt to a charcoal, and you're eating charcoal over there, and you're like, yeah, this is steak. I'm a man. I'm eating steak. Right. I feel like a man. Right. You're eating your schnitzel over there. I'm having a steak, but it tastes like cardboard because it's well done.
You need a special saw, an electric saw.
There was a.
And then they want the wine. And the wine. What wine should I have with this? Oh, I think you should have Cabernet
Sauvignon.
Right. And you can't even swallow it. It's so dry.
The truth is, Cabernet Sauvignon does go with steak, with rib steak, but it has to be medium rare. Anyone who orders a steak, if you don't order it medium rare, you are throwing your money into the garbage. There was a Siyum, Ray Whittow. He's been on this show a couple of times.
Yes.
He made a big Siyum on brachos. And he told me, listen, Benzi, I'm inviting you to this Siyum. Even though I'm not part of his Kollel, he said, we're having steaks there. I'm saying, I'm like, I was considering going. I said to my wife's like, why don't you go? I'm like, listen, I'm not going to go making the steaks. They're going to make the steaks there. And when they make the steaks, they're going to make it well done. And when they have well done steaks, it's like eating, it's eating like shoulder meat. It's eating like non-good meat,
right,
like neck meat. That's what it is. So it's like, It's like I'm
You're
throwing. I have to.
defeating the whole.
It wasn't Telstone, so I'm not going there for that. It's like eating cardboard. So back to our discussion over here, because we don't want to get too off a tangent.
Right.
That's why I love having Shmuel on, because I have a great tangent. But the caveat number 2, right?
Caviar. Yes.
Lieberman's saying about the sandwiches.
Oh, they're going to give caviar in the kollel? That's a great idea. Is that what you said?
Caviar will be a bonus.
You said caviar?
Caveat.
Oh,
caveat. Second caveat is you have to be serious about it. And we're going to have, like on the buses here in Israel, they have these people that come on the bus and they check to make sure you paid. And you never know when they're going to come on. And it's a pretty good system because they come on pretty often and they check your card whether you paid or not. A lot of people try to get free rides on the light rail or on the buses. So have, a system where people are coming in and they're checking on these kollels to make sure that maybe you'll have like a Rav Kav, which is like, one of those.
I like that.
The Metro cards.
Rebbe Kav.
You should, the kollel Kav.
Rebbe Kav. No, it's great. That's a great idea. With a picture of like Rebbe man with a beard.
Yeah, you can have your picture with the beard. Yeah, picture of Shmuel on the card. I think that's a great idea. If I'm going to be prime minister and I'm going to be instituting this, I put a picture of Shmuel on there. I like
that idea
because you have the penultimate, you have the ultimate look of a kollel avrich. Look at his face. You look like an avrich.
Thank you.
You
I
look
think
like
that's a compliment, right?
Your beard is not too long. You look like an avrich. If it's a little longer, you'd be like a Rosh Yeshiva or something like that. You got the glasses. You got the payas sticking out. Behind the ears.
I think people notice when they see me they don't think I'm a rock star or something, right?
Yeah, kollel avrich. Of course. Maybe next year I'll be a rock star.
Everybody's a kollel avrich here in Israel. You know how much money they would have to pay out?
But that's what I'm saying.
How are they going to raise those funds for all that? You know how much money you're talking about?
Well, that's what I said first of all. I said, first of all, who's going to pay the money?
Who's
Donors?
Who's going to
So the government's going to pay it. The government's going to pay, like I said, other countries'
taxes.
medical research, your Torah research. But again, we're going to have people strong. Make sure you swipe your card when you come in the morning. You swipe your card when you leave. If you're not coming on time and you're not staying for a long enough amount of time, you're kicked out of the program. Right? You can't just come, right? And there'll be people coming in and watching, like when they come in and watch to see if the guy's a good shidduch for their daughter, they come into the yeshiva, they're going to be coming and watching over the back and seeing how many coffees you're drinking. Only one coffee is Seder. I allow you to drink coffee in the base medrash, but only one time. You get one coffee each Seder, and that's it. Not more than one coffee. And you can take a bathroom break, and that's it. You can't just. Okay. People that are in charge of it. Most people will be gone. Even the people in the regular kollel system, right, that are getting paid, between 1,000 shekel to 2,500 shekel. Most of those people will be kicked out of my kollel system. And then everyone else's claim that they say the kollel people they don't take it seriously. We're going to make sure the kollel people take it serious like a regular job, and they're going to get paid like a regular job. And it'll be incentive for people to actually join these kollels and to take it seriously. And if you take it seriously, they will learn the Torah well, and they will research the Torah well, and we'll get to the clarification of the egalitarian, representation. I want even conservative reform people, open orthodoxy. I want everyone to have a voice over here and discuss these things. I want to have make it a public event. I want to have live debates on television, on the radio, where people, a representative from the Haredi party is, arguing with someone from the Reform or the Conservative Party about what the halacha should be. Should we make over here? And not because I honestly believe even though I'm part of the Haredi community, I really believe that there needs to be open discussion, open dialogue about halacha, about hashkafa. We have to be talking to each other. We can't cancel each other out and say, oh, I'm part of a certain group. I am not going to deal with this other group. I think that's extremely important. Shmuel, you've heard my 2 caveats. You've heard the idea. How many thumbs up you give it?
I feel touched that you have such concern for the yeshiva world that you want them to.
It's not in the yeshiva world. I'll tell you why I'm doing this. I wasn't even part of the kollel.
Your heart is just bleeding for all the poor people, the poor Avrechim and Yungalite that have trouble putting the food on the table.
It's true. It's not fair. So a lot of these Avrechim are very serious people. They take learning Torah very seriously.
It's true.
And they're not compensated adequately for it, They should be compensated adequately. And you'll say, who's going to pay them, right? A lot of the argument people say is they say, yeah, when someone's a cashier or someone works in a store stocking shelves, he's doing me, the store owner, a service. Or I'm an accountant, right? I'm servicing clients. So who's going to pay for someone learning Torah, right? You're learning Torah for Hashem. You're learning Torah for yourself. There's no one, client that you're learning Torah for, right? So the answer is obviously there is no client you're learning Torah for. But since we're Jews and we believe the integral importance of the Torah, right? We should seek out the government, a Jewish government. This is only applying in Israel, obviously. We have a Jewish government. But like I said, in other countries where they apply for medical research, we believe in the supremacy of the Torah, the value of the Torah. It's a Sam Chaim. It's an elixir of life. It gives you the ability not just to avoid death, but even to live. And that's what I really believe. The Torah is a guide to enjoying this world, to understanding how to enjoy this world. It's something so intrinsic. I am such a proponent of the value of understanding the Torah that I think this, in a lot of ways, this is such a great program because it helps out the Avreichim that are really serious and are not being able to put bread on the table. It helps out. It would provide open dialogue within different, sectors of Jews and bring them together. And also the entertainment value of having these public debates on television, on the radio, in different venues, big, conference halls and things like that. I think would be, you'd sell out. It would be, actually a source of income for the government when you have these mass events over here, and you can sell the rights to TV stations and something like that, or the radio stations. It could even be profitable for the government in the long run. So you have those three factors. You're helping out people that are really serious with minimum wage. They deserve minimum wage. And the people that are not serious should be kicked out of the Kollel program. That's what I'm saying. The Kollel program is ubiquitous in the Haredi world.
I don't want to be kicked out. Don't kick me out, please.
Shmuel, you're already kicked out.
Seriously.
So what do you have to say about this?
Is a very. I'm sure this plan is wonderful, but it sounds. First of all, you would have to get the okay, and you would have to be get it cleared by the main Torah scholars of our generation, and I think that would be the first big hurdle. And right there, it would be DOA.
DOA, what does that mean?
Dead on arrival. They wouldn't give you a thumbs up for that.
Who? The Gedolim?
The Gedolim, right?
Right, like Rav Gershon Edelstein or something like that?
Rav Gershon Edelstein and the Rosh Yeshiva of Slobodka, you know who that is?
No, what's his name?
And all the Rosh
Okay, the Rosh Yeshiva is not going to agree with it. Okay, so let's say the Rosh Yeshiva don't agree with it, right? So they tell all the Haredi people, you can't join these kollels, right?
No, they wouldn't. First of all, they wouldn't. No.
How do you know they wouldn't be for it if you're getting paid in a respected manner where you're going to be able to have more money, to take care of your basic necessities? You have people, a lot of these kollel families have large families, 10, 12 kids. They can't marry off the kids. They can't buy apartments for the kids, which is a lot of yeshivas, force the bachram to ask for marriage. If you have a good bachar, you could demand an apartment. How are the father-in-law is going to pay for such a thing? It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
So I think the Gedolim, if you talk to them and you explain it to them in the right way, where you're helping the serious Avreichim. I think the Gedolim are keen to this. They're aware there's a lot of Avreichim out there who are not serious, and every Gadol was an Avreich at some point, and he was a serious Avreich. Otherwise, he wouldn't become a Gadol. And I'm sure he's still, in some respects, a serious Avreich. He learns whatever he can. So they respect this notion of being a serious in your profession, in your field. And if your profession, now obviously anywhere else in the world, there's no profession of learning Torah. There's no scholarly aspect of learning Torah. But in a Jewish state, which is unique, the only Jewish state in the world, this is something of cultural heritage. It's something important to our culture, our nation. So I think, just like medical research I mentioned in other countries, this is important. And if you explain to them that it's going to weed out the people that are not serious from Kollel, take the serious people from Kollel, give them a respectable parnasa, respectable living, I think they'd be open to it. They would, they have other Kollels. They have things like this in Yerushalayim. They have something called a super Kollel or something like this. A couple of Kollels where they take the best and brightest of the guys, and they pay them $5,000, $6,000, which is about minimum wage. They pay them that, and they only take one new guy every 2 or 3 years. It's like a 5-year program. After the program is up, they sort of, help them go into the rabbinate or they help them to become a Rosh Hashiva or something like that. They're very respected. Rabbi Kellerman,
Oh,
what's his name? Permission to receive, permission to believe, or Leib Kellerman or something like that.
Right.
He has a kollel. It's called
right.
the super kollel, and you really have to it's very hard to get into, and they learn very long hours. They learn not only a morning afternoon seder with a lot of hours. They also learn a night seder, a full-time night seder. You got to move through Yerushalayim near the kollel to live like that, but they do it because they want a respectable salary, and they want to be in a serious environment, and it's a very serious environment. Not only to get in, to stay in the kollel, you have to keep a rigorous schedule. So this idea, this paradigm already exists here in Israel, but I think it's just expanding it. Why do you think the Gedolim would be against it? Because it's going to include other facets of Judaism, other sects of Judaism?
I know, first of all, there is such an, let's take America, for example. Whatever happened to Kollel in America? There's no minimum wage also there in the Kollel.
Right, but there's nothing you can do about that, because what I'm proposing is an Israeli government because of the Jewish state.
I'm saying, yeah, Bachram, there's enough money. I think there was a push from one of a certain group of I think it was spearheaded by Louis Scheiner, that should get a fund to start a fund that will give every Kollel younger man in Lakewood, which is would give them $1,000 a month. And I think it reached its goal. They have a certain there's a certain foundation they made, which now gives $1,000 to each. So there is a way to do that. If you bring in the government, why you want to bring in the government? Because in terms of to help the Israel,
stability,
or to help
that's why.
You want to help the Israel, or you want to help the Kollel? If you want the Kollel, there's other ways of doing it without bringing in the government.
But
you
listen,
want to help the Israeli state as a state. You talk a lot about how there'll be a lot of unity and there'll be tolerance and all these nice things. But is that the part of your reason to include this, or is just an outcome of this plan, or is that one of the goals of the plan? That's my question to you.
The point that the reason I'm involving the government, yes, of course, like you mentioned, they have this Direi Torah convention in Philadelphia where they tripled the amount in Lakewood. Imagine Lakewood, in America, with inflation, getting paid $300 a month in PMG, the biggest yeshiva in the world is in Avreif. They tripled it to $1,000 a month, which is not that much, which is relatively around 3,000 shekel in Israel. In America, it's worth almost nothing with inflation there. Still, it's worth nothing, and they did it with a huge fundraising campaign with a lot of big donors over there.
Right.
The problem with relying on donors is because it's dependent on the donors. Donors' moods change, their finances change, their bank accounts change, and you can't rely on that. You can never rely on donors just relying on other people. And the other problem with relying on donors is that they ask for favors in return, and they always ask for favors. It's a quid pro quo system. And when you have a quid pro quo system, I don't like the idea of relying on favors to justify it through the government, right? At least the government right now, which is half composed of religious parties who would be into an idea like this, is because the government is not going to falter on their payments. They're going to pay on time. When you're coming from a lot of yeshivas and kollelim in America and Israel are based on the donations of rich people. You know how many rebbeim get paid late? You know how many kol avreichim get paid late? It's ubiquitous all over the place. And the reason is because the donors, even though they pledge they're going to give an amount of money, when their bank account drops, when the stock market drops, they have less money to give and they can't pay on time. What are you going to do? You're going to say to the guy, pay up, but he's doing a favor to you. So if you have it instituted in the government, right, the government, their finances are more secure than the rich individuals, the rich donors. Therefore, it'll be guaranteed the paychecks on time. There's much more stability with the program. Like I said, it will last longer. And it's not necessarily asking for a favor because this is a program where the country, the Jewish heritage of the country is benefiting from these scholars. So I think it's a win-win in all directions. I don't think you should, I think maybe adding donors to supplement the pay and maybe people that are really, distinguished scholars, maybe getting a bonus. Bonuses will be a nice thing. And I think donors could be added onto the program. But I think the core program have to be from the government. That's why I don't think it can exist here in Israel. It's not sustainable anywhere else in the world where the government is not a Jewish government and values the idea of Torah. Does that respond well to your point?
Well, Uh, you talked about how the government is stability. I think that's the most absolutely absurd thing to say with the government, the Israeli government. Every year or every year or less, the government falls apart. There's no stability here. So talking about stability, if you talk about Al Tiftachu B'Nadivim, I would say that's Medinas Yisrael. If you say Al Tiftachu B'Nadivim, more than other people, than private individuals. The Medinas Yisrael you can't count on for anything, and especially with such a big scheme like that. What would happen after a year when this government falls? The next government will just they'll have such a there'll be such a backlash. They'll close all the kollel. That's what might end up happening, and that's a scary scenario.
Let me respond to that point. First of all, the current government seems to be a pretty stable coalition because all the factions of the coalition are like-minded. They're all right wing. A lot of them are religious. So it's a pretty strong coalition as opposed to the previous government, which was a mix of here and there of Arab parties, of leftist parties, of centrist parties, and right wing parties. It was a mix. It was never going to stay around. But this is a stable government for that. At least for the 4 or 5 years going ahead, we're going to have a stable government here in Israel, presumably. And to your point, that after the government, does end, and maybe a new regime comes in, and yes, they might cancel the program. That's okay. But at least 4 or 5 years, I'll have the program. And if it's something which is successful, and because I'm adding this dimension of entertainment value in here, or I'm adding debates, right? In big venues, right? And television contracts, radio contracts. I think even
have an evangelical type of get together.
Yes, we could even one time have. I would even entertain the idea of Christians and Arabs, scholars. Now listen, debating theology on an open scale. Yes, and it's something. And if you have, especially if the Christians and Arabs, and it's a intellectual dialogue between them and debates. Everyone loves debates. Everyone those presidential debates. People love to see those debates.
Right.
You see these religious debates on national television. The world would love it. It wouldn't just be Israeli contracts.
The Jewish world, the
Jewish world.
I think memory has a very bad memory of debates, and it goes. You start thinking about the debates that the church had with the Jews, before they kicked them all out or burnt all their.
Yeah, but that's because they had power over the Jews. Here's the Jewish state. We have the power. The Jews have the power in this state to control these things and to control what's asked in the debate, what's talked about in the debate. And listen. If you believe in Judaism, you should be able to believe in it. If a Christian minister or a Christian,
okay, that's getting to a way different.
The clergy of the Christians or the clergy of the Muslims, they try to disprove the Torah. I think if you're a legitimate Jew, you believe that Judaism has the answers to these things, and you want to hear those answers. It's entertaining, and it also strengthens your belief in Judaism and God. And there's a lot of places also where Christianity and Islam overlap. So it strengthens all the religion and strengthens the unity, maybe even between Jews and Arabs here in Israel, to have an open dialogue like this, where we're not canceling people, we're not cutting people out, we're giving everyone a fair chance to open their mouths and speak. So because of that entertainment value to not just Israel, to the entire world, I think it's a sustainable program, not just for this government, but for future governments also. Even if it left this government, I think they would enjoy the entertainment purpose of it and maybe pursue the program and keep it going, especially because it's a program that supports even Jewish people that are not necessarily from the right, even from the centrist or the left. I really think it has potential. Obviously, I'm not the prime minister yet. Joking. Shmuel, you think I would do a good job as prime minister?
Prime minister.
I think I would do it.
I think so. I think Benzi. We call you Benzi. What do you like? We like.
What should the name of my ticket be? Kimitzion Teisei Torah.
Hey, that's nice. Wow.
Kimitzion. Everyone in the street singing. Kimitzion. Kimitzion.
That's good. Maybe that'll be a platform that you're going to give. Every person will get a Kollel check. Big Kollel check in the mail.
Yeah. When I have my public rallies, I'll be throwing out, Kollel checks. But you got to learn in Kollel. You got to come to the Kollel.
That's right. Okay, Vincent.
All right, Shmuel, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
I wish you were.
It's a good idea, no?
Yeah,
it's a new idea. A regular person wouldn't have thought of such an idea like this. This is thinking out of the box. No,
thinking out of the box.
That's way thinking out of the box.
Definitely.
But I value your opinions.
It's very nice that you're concerned of all the Torah in Eretz Yisrael. It warms my heart.
Yeah, people think I'm not anti-Haredi. I'm pro dialogue and pro discussion of, to get to the core and find out the truth about Judaism. An honor having you on, Shmuel.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Be well.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.